A brand new monarchy, isn't it, really, when you think about it? King Charles III has taken the reins quite literally. We saw that spectacular Christmas Day speech in which really pleased many people, including myself, I might point out. I thought it was wonderful the way that he united everybody together without any political stance, no wokery, but simple messages that really resonated with everyone. But seemingly, not everybody likes King Charles, or indeed the former known as Prince Charles. But which celebrities do and don't necessarily get on with the British monarchy? As ever, let me explain. Asked to sit in a chair and get weighed, and then getting fan mail from the future king. What could be better? Here are some celebrities that are spilling their thoughts after meeting our brand new king, King Charles III. Now, Scottish rocker Rod Stewart is no stranger to hanging out with royalty, appearing numerous times in front of our late and wonderful monarch the Queen, and of course at royal variety performances. He's built a very special friendship with King Charles over the years, and was even asked to front Prince Charles, as he then was, 60th birthday party way back in 2008. He's also been a long-time ambassador for the Prince's Trust, and in June 2022 was invited to play at the Queen's Platinum Jubilee concert. Now, while promoting the performance, Rod told me that he actually became very emotional when he received that particular invite, because he could never have imagined, as a young boy starting out, trying to become a rock star, that he would become so closely associated with our wonderful British monarchy. He feels that they do a wonderful job as global ambassadors. But of course, Rod's not alone in his thoughts for liking our wonderful monarchy. A huge star that I was lucky enough to meet that thoroughly enjoys spending time with King Charles and indeed the Queen Consort Camilla is none other than the brilliant comedian Barry Humphries, otherwise known as Dame Edna Everage. What a star, housewife superstar in fact, as we saw in that very funny skit at that Royal Variety performance where Barry announced that, or should I say Dame Edna announced that they'd found him a better seat. You could actually see that they got on incredibly well. Another star that I became very close to and good friends with was none other than the late and of course very much missed Joan Rivers. She built up a friendship with Prince Charles, as he then was, and carried on, of course, for many years, even though she'd been rather unkind about him when she was starting out in her career. But as he pointed out to her, it's all comedy, and if it makes people laugh and smile, then he was all for that. This, I think, is what's really endured him to the world of celebrity. But it's another side to the king that people don't necessarily realise. He reaches out to people, whether you are a celebrity or not, with personal notes, perhaps, a note of condolence, particularly if your story is featured in the media, and he privately then wants to get in touch. The TV host Kate Garraway has had a terrible time, of course, for the fact that her husband was one of the longest, shall we say, pulling through the COVID pandemic and is still in and out of hospital now. Privately, King Charles got in touch to ask if there was anything that he could do to ease the burden. The other star, Richard E. Grant, who you will know, of course, from big hit shows like Gosford Park and Downton Abbey, had a terrible heartbreak in 2021 when he sadly lost his beloved wife, Joan. Again, privately, King Charles reached out and said, is there anything we can do to help? Of course, nobody can in these situations, but it is nice to know that even our wonderful monarch notices that people are going through things. And as I say, this is not all related to celebrity. I'm highlighting this because obviously you know who these people are. Another Yorkshire tyke that has basically made a very big career out of first becoming a gardener and then a television presenter is Alan Titchmarsh. Now, as I say, he made a name for himself for shows like Love Your Garden, which has been running since 2011. He also has had a slew of gardening books, which have become incredibly successful. He has a very long-running royal connection and has spent a considerable amount of time with the late Queen. Basically, he's also become very close and a good friend to King Charles, apparently even working at his Highgrove Gardens on numerous occasions, advising him on what he should do, which are, of course, are open to the public. I don't know if you know that, but you can visit those wonderful gardens out there. My favourite ever journalist is none other than the British broadcaster Sir Trevor McDonald. I was lucky enough to work with him many years ago, and he's just the ultimate professional, very calm, cool, never gets flapped about anything. He was a brilliant host of the National Television Awards, and he was lucky enough and had the opportunity to meet and interview King Charles way back in 2006, shooting a documentary called The Prince of Wales Up Close. The film celebrated the 30th anniversary of the Prince's Trust. During their in-depth conversation, Trevor got to know and was impressed by the future king. He revealed that he was particularly drawn to Charles's commitment to the environment as well as to his extensive knowledge on the matter. He added that he recalled one moment during the shoot in which Charles spoke candidly about being misunderstood. Trevor also added the point that, when you think about it, people actually thought King Charles was a little bit nutty, particularly when I was growing up, and I mean that in the kindest ways, because of course there were shows like Spitting Image that had him talking to plants. But as Sir Trevor pointed out to me, well, really, he was just simply ahead of his time. It wasn't the done thing to speak about that in that particular era. A good friend of mine is the television chef Ainsley Harriott, who shot to fame, first of all cooking segments on morning TV, and then do you remember shows like Can't Cook, Won't Cook? He does come from a showbiz family because his father, Chester Harriott, was a celebrated pianist and musician who regularly appeared in summer seasons in Blackpool in the 1940s and 50s. Now, Ainsley managed to pick up an MBE directly from the then Prince Charles and said the bottom line with him is this: he simply makes you feel very relaxed, very at ease, and that's part of the thing that he believes that he will become a very good king. As Ainsley pointed out, it's a different reign, a different time, The former monarch, our beautiful Queen Elizabeth, did reign in a different period, grew up in a different time. Let's not forget, 70 years on the throne, she saw so many changes, but then so did Prince Charles. And he, of course, wanted to make his own mark in a totally different way. Welsh actor and singer Luke Evans told me that he not only is an ambassador for the Prince's Trust, but he was also very nicely asked to narrate the 2019 TV movie Charles, 50 Years a Prince. He told me that basically during the time that he was there, he couldn't believe how much behind the scenes charity work that the then Prince Charles did. Reading off letters late into the night. He's not a television watcher, doesn't actually stop for much, not a great big eater. The only time that he really partakes in full meals, according to Luke, is when he's actually at those banquets, which again are simply work. Now, one Hollywood star who told me that she couldn't quite believe that she'd met the future King of England was none other than E.T. Yes, that's right, Drew Barrymore. Let's not forget, Drew Barrymore comes from an acting dynasty in the golden age of Hollywood. But by 7, she was an international star, all thanks to E.T. and Steven Spielberg. Now, she met Prince Charles and Princess Diana, as I say, at that premiere in London, where she presented Prince Charles with an E.T. doll. Can you imagine? Must have been quite frightening. As she pointed out to me, though, she said, even though I was very young, they spoke to me as an adult, didn't make me feel, childish or anything like that. And she claimed that, of course, meeting Princess Diana was just absolutely awe-inspiring because she'd never met anybody up close that was so beautiful. But she said her memory of Prince Charles was this, that basically when he spoke to her in a language that she could understand at 7 years old, and told her how pretty that she looked at the premiere in her dress. And she said this was important because everybody sort of in Hollywood looks at you as a commodity. But for him to say that to her made her feel $1 million because, as she pointed out, nobody on that night had said, "You look very pretty." And to be told that by a prince, she said, was pretty awe-inspiring. But what about those that don't like Prince Charles? Well, basically, it's not necessarily Prince Charles or the king, is it? It's those that are anti-monarchists, and there aren't many of them, as we've pointed out. I always find it fascinating, I don't know if you do, with MPs and people like that, who, for instance, do not want to abolish the House of Lords. But boy, the moment that there's the opportunity, it's to become part of the House of Lords, they're there. And that's what you find with a lot of celebrities who, for instance, appear at our own British Royal Variety Performance, which was called the Royal Command Performance before. They will do that because not only do they wish to get close and appear in front of the British monarchy, but what they do like really is the fact that it's good for their CV. They can sell that on and say, I sang in front of the Queen or Prince Charles or Princess Diana. Now, as someone who's done that myself, it's very nerve-wracking, let me tell you, because when they tell you that the royals are in, it is definitely something that makes you put in a little bit more effort. That's what makes it incredibly special. So if you are a celebrity and you do get invited to appear at one of the castles or perhaps a royal event, a Prince's Trust lunch or, great meeting, do take that opportunity because truly, as Sir Rod Stewart told me, it can honestly change your life. And as a celebrity, that's not bad for your career either. Thank you so much as ever for watching that short film. I truly hope you enjoyed it and of course enjoyed the good fun associated with it. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.